Do you sometimes feel like as a solo producer that you just don't know what your priorities should be? That you don't know what to focus on anymore because you're just lost within it all and you don't know what the most important thing is? And so let's talk about that topic today, how to gain more clarity. Why do you make music? Do you ever think about that? Do you have a really clear and solid why? Because if you don't know what your music and what you're all about, then your audience won't know either, right? And so it's very important to have a clear why, because if your why is vague, everything else that follows will be vague as well. So let me give you an example to illustrate to you that it has much more power to be clear about your why. So let's say your why sounds something like this. Oh, I want to make music to make people feel connected to it. I mean, that sounds nice, right? That sounds good, but what about a why that is a bit more clear? Something like this. I believe that my audience will see themselves in my music because it comes from a real and genuine story, my story. What does that sound like to you? To me, it sounds much more clear, much more powerful, and it's also more motivating. So make sure that you've got a clear why to start with. The next thing is to have a clear what. So that means to have goals. Do you think that goals are important to have? I think they are very important to have, because if you have clear goals, then you've got a direction. And sometimes, yes, we're afraid that if we have clear goals and we won't achieve them, then we're disappointed. But is that really the reason why we shouldn't have any goals? I think that's a terrible reason. And so instead, I think we should have very clear goals. And so instead of saying something like, well, someday I'd like to be famous, or someday I'd like to make a living with my music, we should be very clear and intentional about it and say something like, within 2 years' time, I want to earn $2,000 each month by selling beats or doing X, Y, Z. Does that make sense? So if you're more clear about your goals, you have much more direction, and at least you're working towards something. Goals are very important to have because they give us direction. But what's even more important to have than a big picture is a clear picture, right? And so structure is going to give us that. If you don't know what your next step will be, or your next couple of steps to get to your end destination, what's the point of having an end destination in mind? You need structure in place to get to those big ambitions and big dreams that you have. So it's not wrong to have big dreams. I'm just saying that you need structure in place. So you've got to structure your workflow. And from your workflow, you need to structure your time first of all. So that means put it in your calendar what you'll achieve today, this week, this month, and this year. So if you don't put it in your calendar, I think you'll probably get lost in the details of doing things, or you'll get distracted along the way. So to avoid that, make sure you put stuff in your calendar, okay? And so the second thing is to structure our setup. And so that means to make use of templates, presets, reference tracks, and make sure that your desk is just organized the right way to be able to just get a routine and to do things consistently, because consistency is so key to get more consistent results. And without consistent results, everything still feels like it's out of focus. Okay? So you've got to be able to predict the outcome to some extent if you want to feel in focus. Where did you get most of your information from to be a producer? I think you probably got it from the internet, right? Just like me, because it's so easily accessible today to get stuff from there and to learn things about how music production works. And so I think it's not wrong to get on the internet and learn things, but sometimes it's just not the best advice giver, in my opinion, because you need some real and genuine and honest feedback from the people around you and from your audience about your music. If you want to know what to focus on, they'll tell you. If you want to know how to get better, they'll tell you. And so it's very important to have some sort of feedback loop in your life where you have people around you that can tell you exactly what you need to improve on. As a beginner producer, I think sometimes it's really easy to feel impatient with yourself. And so what I think a lot of people or a lot of beginners do is they go on the internet and they start looking for very generic videos or blog posts about how to become a better producer. And so they read a couple of lines or they watch a couple of videos and they really hope to become a better producer by doing that. But that's not how it works. That's not the reality. So if you want to get really good at music production, then I think you've got to be very specific about what you want to learn. So that means to be intentional. Okay? If you're intentional with your learning, then it also helps you to be more focused and to stop feeling like you've got to give in to this information overload out there, okay? So search for the things that are relevant to you as a producer and be very narrow and specific about it. That helps you, okay? So this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you soon.